Okay, hello, good afternoon for those on this side of the world or morning. Welcome to our Friday session. John today is unavailable because he and Catherine are in Frankfurt in the fair, and so I will be your host for today. So our wonderful guest painter today is Buffy Kaufman. I think that all of you know her. She's a dear friend and an exceptionally good painter, very nice and very warm. She is in California. She lives in the south of California, near Palm Springs. The name of the city is something Spanish, Calimisa, no? She's a full-time artist and teaches around in California. And I think we have a little PowerPoint to see her contacts, her website, and
Yes,
some of her
and
works. Thank
just
you.
give me a moment.
Thank you,
I'm gonna
Angela.
do a share screen.
Welcome,
Do you
Buffy.
wanna, do you want to say hi to everybody first, Buffy, including our guests who are on Facebook?
Yes, hello everybody. Thank you for joining today. I'm substituting for another artist that couldn't make it, and so I hope you enjoy the presentation we have today. For all of you who are tuning in, we were promoted this morning to Daniel Smith Latin America. Thank you so much for that. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat or live while I'm painting, and we have people who can also translate. So thank you so much for joining.
Hey, okay, so we're gonna do a
That's
share
lovely.
screen now. And our dear friend Angela will help us present the slideshow. Okay, there you go.
Yes, so this is Buffy. I was so delighted to meet you in Texas last October, or yes, last October. So um, you can see her handle, that is Instagram, Buffy Kaufman Art. It's quite straightforward. So with these beautiful flowers, I don't know if Buffy has something to say, and later on she will explain about her paintings. Facebook, Buffy's Art.
That
I'm
painting there
sorry,
of the whole buildings,
that's
that's
not
not
Buffy's art on the right. Yeah,
mine.
it
Oh,
is.
isn't it?
Sorry about that, Buffy.
It's okay. I'm not quite there
That
yet. That's can
that's
we say
Sanjay's. Okay,
Sanjay's
so this
beautiful.
is Buffy's.
That's
So
beautiful. Yeah. That is her website, watercolorpour.com.
yes,
I love the technique that she has of pouring color.
thank you.
Okay, that's something new to learn.
The flowers there on that photo is similar to the techniques I'll be demonstrating today.
Mm, we're very impatient, looking forward to that. If you want to comment something about your flowers or your paintings.
Yes. Today I'm going to be demonstrating, and I will have done a little bit of work beforehand on my flowers. That's called permanent masking fluid. And where you can observe them here is in the yellows of the flower. I'm able to apply that before I start painting. And so this photo shows you what it looks like at the end of the painting. So
Mhm. Wonderful.
so this year, I was so delighted to attend the 2025 California Desert Plein Air Festival. And this was the first painting I've done in plein air that I felt I had found my rhythm of trying to paint in a windy desert. And so I wanted to share these with you guys. I was so happy at this festival.
I love the water, how you did the water and
Thank,
the palm trees, wonderful.
thank you. And this painting, you may have remember I did this during a live demo where we were exploring autumn palettes, and I wanted to share with you guys that this actually won an award for second place in the Coachella Valley Watercolor Society. So I thought that it would be nice to tell you guys about that because I
Congratulations.
painted this along with all of you. So
Yeah, congratulations. So this can actually be found on our YouTube channel, probably.
yes, yep, you
Wonderful.
can see me painting this. Yes. And here is another, you can tell how happy I was.
Yes.
Oh, it's strange when you see these pictures, they're little, you're choosing them, and then you see them big on the screen. Oh my goodness. Anyways, so this one was wonderful. I hiked down into a canyon where there's some waters in one of the oases out in Springs, Palm Desert. And so I was so happy to, again, this was painted all at once in under an hour. So I just did it all emotion, all expressive.
So this is just very fast, huh? Very, very fast.
Yes. And then this was a second painting I did using that same palette of autumn colors.
Mhm.
This one, though, was no sketch, so you paint it all at once. The one in the bottom is no sketch.
This one.
This one was the final painting I did during the festival, and it's actually oriented, it should be vertical with the DPAA down on the bottom, but what it was the leftover colors in my palette. I did really quick, just some foliage from this tree branch that was hanging down, and it was actually the painting I had entered into the show, which was very nice.
Yeah, I hate to waste the colors that are left after you've done a painting, so I always do that. Paint something quickly, and sometimes
Yeah,
it's the best.
Buffy,
yeah.
what was the color for the branches?
The branches was the transparent red oxide and
Thank you.
probably some quinacridone sienna. This one I titled Desert Color.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Rick.
Right. That will be the last artwork here. There.
All right.
Okay, I think you are very ready and very well organized to start your painting today. I think that maybe Ashley or somebody else can share all the information that you have sent us, and even the painting, the reference photo. So please go ahead, whenever you wish.
Thank you, Angela. Let's go ahead and switch over. Okay, so today I'm going to be painting these beautiful wildflowers. They're called bird's eye, and they grow wild in Southern California and Northern Mexico, also in Texas, along the Gulf. You'll find them in desert areas. And what I love about them is they grow about 12 to 18 inches high, so they're perfect for taking photographs. I also love the composition that nature gives us. I call these the cascade composition, where you have this flow. And I also love with wildflowers that they're not all perfectly in a pattern. You have repetition of the flowers, but you have alternation and variation, not only in their size, but also in the way that they are pointing. So I really love that. So I thought that this would be a really pretty something to share with you guys today. And it was inspired by our new color that's just come out called Manganese Violet. And the Manganese Violet is an incredible granulating color. It's a single pigment color, and I fell in love with it. So I decided that this subject would be beautiful with the Manganese Violet as well with the lavender. So I see lavender in here, and also the manganese for the redder parts of the flower.
I
And then
apologize for the interruption, Buffy. Does the lighting allow you to bring the images closer to the camera so that we can have a closer view? Since it's a new color, we're all excited to see it.
should I bring it up too?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
If you can hold it still,
VC
perhaps we can get the detail. Thank you. Please continue. Sorry to interrupt.
So the nice thing about this pigment is, can you see how the paper shines through? So you have a capability of getting a pretty dark value, but also that lightest bit, it's still granulating. It's a very powerful color. I was so pleasantly surprised by this one. And then next to the lavender, you can really see the texture. So today I'll be painting with a special palette that I made just for today. And I poured it into my little mini palette. And so we have lavender straight out of the tube, the manganese violet. I have this beautiful cyan color, which is a mix. It is 1 part Amazonite and 3 parts phthalo blue turquoise. And so it's just gorgeous. And my green is also a premix of perylene green and undersea green. Again, I did 1 part perylene green to 3 parts undersea green. And this is to give me a really strong value green that I can get very dark. And then my ochre color is also a premix. And the mix is yellow ochre, bronzite, quinacridone gold, and pearlescent shimmer. And you might wonder why I mix these, but it's because I have a very specific color in mind, and so I'm trying to create that color. And then this amazing gray is going to be a mixture of the manganese violet, the blue color, and the ochre. Can you believe that this vibrant colors make this? And so this has a really magical thing that'll happen as it waters out. As it waters out, it goes from the solid value or solid color of gray into the blues, the purples, and even the yellows will kind of separate on the paper the more you water it out. So what I do is I get these naked palettes from Whiskey Painter, and you buy the little empty pans, and you can customize your palettes however you want. And I'll squeeze the different colors right into the pan, and then I stir them up and let them dry. And then I have my own special mixes of color.
May I say something really quickly? Because I know it's going to come up as it did yesterday. A lot of people are asking where to buy the new colors. And so since Daniel Smith doesn't actually sell, retail, it's up to retailers and stores to order these colors. So if you guys have a favorite local shop or, wherever you buy your Daniel Smith colors, you can actually request them to order these colors from their distributors. They should be rolling out throughout spring and further into the year, depending where you are in the world. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ashley. One
That's a
more
really
note.
good tip. Yeah, thank you.
One more note on this. I did a little bit of preloading on my painting. I did my sketch and then I used a product. It's called Permanent Masking Fluid. Since I do watercolor pouring, I wouldn't have time during demo to use regular masking fluid. So I've used permanent. And how I use it is I'll pour a little bit into a ramekin or a lid. And then I will tint that color. I make sure to use a brush that is, an inexpensive brush or a brush that's ran out of time. And I'll take a color and I'll tint it. So for instance, I could take some of the manganese violet and then I can tint it. And once I get the color that I want, put a little bit more so you guys can actually see it. Now I'm going to put this on my painting and I can create areas where I just want to have some shadows, or in this case, I wanted to be able to capture the structure of the flowers. So that way, when I start pouring and painting, like what if all my paint poured over the flower? This will help me to see where I was. So I tinted the light purple and the cyan blue and a little bit of yellow. And you can also blend it out like watercolor. So what this does is it creates a resist. The paint can kind of sit on top of it. And so you could always wipe away any paint that sticks on it that you want to let go.
So is this, you said, a permanent
Yes.
version?
Yep, so it's a permanent product. So when this painting is all done, it won't peel off. So it creates a permanent resist on my painting. Now, for those of you that enter shows, there are some prospectus or rules in some shows that'll say all masking fluid has to be removed. And I think that rule was made for regular masking fluid, but just in case, I would always check the rules if you're going to use this product to make sure if you're showing your work, it would be accepted. I just don't use it for paintings I'm going to enter in a show, but for paintings that I'll be selling or...
But what is really exciting is that it's transparent, so you can color it the color that you wish.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's one more note. Some people have complained that if they try and use this white out of the bottle, that it will yellow. And so the way that I overcome that is I just tint it other colors because we have the white of our paper and I can leave that dry. So to get started, I will take a brush and I will be very sloppy and I'm just kind of going up to and around my flowers. And if I go a little bit over some of them, I'm okay, especially if they're in the shadow. Just getting some areas wet.
Really quickly, Buffy, does that matte have the masking have a matte or a shiny look?
If you put it on very strong, like here I did some splats, it can have a little tiny bit of a shine to it.
Okay.
But I find that if you, I would say very, very minimal shine.
Thank you.
The thicker you put it on, the more shine. Like I said, a few places I'll go right over the flowers because I want this to become very expressive and I want these colors to blend and mix and mingle. And that's the thing that I love about watercolor. I love how, let me see. Like here, I love these blends and places where when you're playing wet on wet, you get exciting. You get this excitement and the manganese violet. Well, I'll just show you. I will just show you. Going to quickly stir up for any sediment. And I'm going to pour this beautiful golden ochre that has bronzite for some shimmer and pearlescent shimmer in it. It has a yellow ochre and it has quinacridone gold. And the quinacridone gold is going to give this a beautiful glow. Anytime you add quinacridone, you're going to have some exciting glow happening.
Buffy, we have a couple questions over on Zoom. Here in Zoom. Okay, first question from BJ. Why permanent mask rather than white watercolor mixed with color? Good question. And then the next one is when you rinse your brush, is the resist still in the water and goes on the painting? And then a third one, they're all related. Does permanent masking fluid feel different on the paper?
No, you can't fill it. Question number one, you can't fill it unless you apply it super thick. And if you apply it super thick, you can fill it. Question number two, why? That's probably the number one question I get. And to be honest, it helps me be structured when I'm doing a demo with watercolor pouring because I'm a very emotive painter, sometimes I will get caught up in the moment and I'll lose where my, you'll lose your pencil marks, you'll lose where things are. So I like this because I can see the structure of the flowers. Did that answer that question, or can you ask me it again if I didn't?
I think you nailed it. If not, we'll let you know. Thank you.
And what was the third question?
So, I think we might have got them a little mixed up. When you rinse your brush, is it still in the water? Did you answer that one?
Oh, so like I said, I'll use a junky brush and it doesn't kill it the way regular masking fluid does, but I will use soap and water to clean it and that way I get multiple uses out of it. But that being said, I would never ever use it on natural hair. I would use it on a synthetic. That if you ever use masking fluid, only use it in a way that you'd be willing to sacrifice that brush, because that could happen. And then
they're also, I think they're wondering if, like, okay, let's say you rinse your brush over there in your water. Are you using that water again later to put on your paper? Because I think the question is that resist going to still be in the water and then mess with your painting later? I think that's the question.
Yeah, I think it would be like when I did all of this, I changed my water out. But since I only did like the 1, 2 little spots, I don't think it'll matter. But to be perfectly safe, just clean out your water, use a junky brush, and then you don't have to worry. Really quick, can you see how that manganese explodes? Isn't that amazing? I'll watch when I splatter it. It has this splat factor that is so cool. And anytime I'm doing any kind of sand, putting some purple or lavender or magenta into it can really make it quite exciting. I also did not stretch my paper, and so you can see a little wobble. And so I'm going to have to be careful, otherwise that's going to turn into a big bloom. But I'm just making sure some of the color is behind and within the flowers. Couple spots. Now I just need to pick up my puddles. Also, if you guys can let me know when I get down to 15 minutes left. If anybody is going to paint along or try this method, the reference photo is going to be in the chat. So you can, hopefully you can right click and save it to your computer, or you can right click and print it. And also the replay of this will be on YouTube in a few days.
And on Facebook today, because
Yep. Instantly.
saved immediately, yeah, maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes later.
So now you can see I've got this dappled, slowly coming together color world. And while this is wet, rather than pouring more color, I like to do a lot of splattering, and that will kind of diffuse. And maybe that'll look like sand in the background, or maybe it'll look like other flowers, or just other something interesting, but not too much so that it takes away from the flowers, because they're going to be our main character. Now, while this is wet, I can go in and I can start kind of testing it for that moment of putting some leaves in and letting them diffuse. Now, if you want them to stick a little bit more, you would just make your mix a little bit thicker. But I'll probably put some more intentional leaves later on. So these ones I'm quite happy having them blend in and out of the story. Everything I do, I'm trying to kind of keep with that cascade composition that nature gave us in this photo. I love wildflowers because you only get to see them every once in a while. And the rest of the year, they're usually this incredible, like tumbleweed looking bush, dry, brittle. And then every year, here they come, usually late spring, early summer. And then we also have the El Niño and El Nino weather patterns here. So sometimes we have really, really dry seasons, and other times we have very wet seasons. And so that is, sometimes you get false blooms, where the blooms will come out kind of like out of season as a surprise.
Buffy, is a question on chat. Is she painting flat?
Yes, I'm painting flat, but I have a bunch of risers on standby.
Okay, thank you.
And what I'll do is, right now I'm kind of letting everything settle and blend, but eventually I have to keep watching this puddle here that's accumulating, and eventually I'll put it on a little bit of a slant to send it down to the bottom.
Buffy, we have a comment here by Lucy. It says, Buffy, I so appreciate your answer about structure because I love painting plants and flowers, but always get carried away and the structure can disappear.
Me too. And so something I give myself a little bit of grace and I give myself a break. I say to myself, as long as the simple flower is there when the painting is done, I'm okay. But if I can get something to identify the flower, that would be wonderful. So my hope is that the local color that I'll be using, which is the color of the flower, by having similar colors, hopefully that'll say that these are the bird's eye wildflower. But okay, so this is what I call love at first pour. And that is when you poured all the colors and you already feel some satisfaction because the joy of watching those colors play and mix and mingle. And you can also learn a lot about color mixing this way because sometimes you'll have some color arrive and you maybe didn't expect it. The color that I chose as a designer color, one that isn't necessarily in the photo, but I thought would be a really pretty color to give a bit of a color pop, is the cyan color. So I'm just going to, it still has some shine, so I still have a little bit of time to introduce it. And I'm just going to put it this very subtle, but oh my goodness, isn't that such a pretty color?
Would that be the mix of Amazonite and phthalo blue turquoise?
Yes.
Uh-huh. It's a lovely mix.
Thank you. So now I'm going to move to the flowers, and I am going to put this on a little bit of an angle, so that way this area here. The other thing I can do is hold it up for a second and I try and hold it so it comes down on a diagonal, so it looks more natural. And I'll try and just get the excess off. So close your ears real quick.
Buffy, do you is the paper wet so to stick to the base, to the support?
Nope, I taped it on
How
there
you
dry.
stapled it?
Just tape.
All right.
But here you can see those colors, how they're interacting with each other. And I love that manganese violet on that painting we showed in the slideshow. You can see how it shifted some of my color. So now is the part where I hope I don't mess things up. I'm gonna
Can we see the top of that painting again that you just showed? It's so pretty.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, look at that.
So this one I just did at a demo. It was the final day of that festival I was in, and they invited me to do a demo at the gallery where the show was. And so this was all done in an hour. And this one also, that bright yellow is just Hansa yellow light mixed with that permanent masking fluid. And so as far as the shine goes, very minimal, Rick, but you can see a little bit of shine, but it's exciting because I don't think that yellow would have stood out as much if I hadn't used the permanent masking fluid. This flower is called Dune Primrose, and it grows in the sand dunes, which is
Buffy,
exciting.
how long does it take for that masking fluid to dry?
It dries so fast, which is why I prefer it for demo. For instance, where I put it on there, it's already dry. Whereas you guys who use regular masking fluid, you could probably guess all the things that can be frustrating about masking. Traditional masking fluid has always frustrated me. It can be very fickle to work with, and it'll look great as you're doing your painting, and at the very end, you're so excited and you pull that masking fluid off. And for me, at least, it leaves that little wibble wobble line. And then I would end up going in and painting again over the very thing I was doing. So then I decided, well, I need to find new ways And I'm okay if it blends into the background. That'll just give it some lost and found. Aren't these colors pretty together, you guys?
Wow, it's
We
amazing.
have a question on Facebook. We're eager to know, will the
Okay.
flowers stay white or will you paint it this wonderful blue tint?
These flowers are going to be the beautiful local color that they are, yes. And then I'll have to kind of overcome if I need to do anything more to them to get them to stand out. Like here and there where they blend into the background, it's okay because I'm going to go in and I'm going to do some negative painting at the end. Hopefully I'll have time to share that with you guys. And that's where I can bring things into shape a little bit more. But right here, I'm just encouraging that continued bit of color sinking where they're just sinking together in a lovely way.
Would you also speak a little bit about your value strategy? Because right now, as I observe you're creating, it's all very high key. Thank you.
Very high key. And that is, in fact, I'm so glad you're so smart. I'm glad you brought that up because that is another reason why the structure was important. Because for one thing, the reference photo doesn't have a whole lot of value, right? We have a couple little key areas, and that's why I put some Perylene green in with the undersea green, so I would have an opportunity color where I can introduce some value. So right now it is being painted very high key, and then at the end I will use what I call an anchoring method. And as soon as I get some dry areas, I can do that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna turn on my fan at this point. Hopefully the Zoom will tune it out to start to encourage the dry type. Is that too loud?
No, it's muted. Good.
It's muted, yeah?
Wonderful.
Don't we love technology?
Yeah, well, that's something
Sometimes.
I had never seen.
So these flowers have kind of a white center. And then around the trumpet, the part where that comes up, right, and holds the bloom, it'll have like a purple ring. We don't see it in this photo. And then the reason it's called a bird's eye is because it actually, if we could look all the way down in the trumpet, it's quite dark and actually has a little bit of yellow even. And so they say that it looks like a bird's eye. So the reason it was named is quite literal. Like I like these colors together very much. The manganese violet is a new color, and the
So you
lavender.
said, excuse me, Buffy, you said it was it this one that was one part of a color and three parts of the other?
No, these are straight. These are straight as Daniel Smith made them. So these is straight lavender and straight manganese violet, which is the new color.
So you just mix them on the paper.
Yeah, I'm just working wet into wet so that they have some time on the paper together. And I'm trying to preserve some of the white at the center. So you can see much of that work I did on the structure is now just kind of blending into the flower. You won't even see it when it's all done. But
How big would you say those flowers are in real life? Like each flower? Maybe
Yeah.
like 2 inches diameter?
that size?
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
Yeah. There are 5 petals. So if you're ever painting that's another thing in the structure, you know, you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I don't pay that much attention. But they also, I think they also have the 5 stamen, which is in the center. So things like that, though, when you're painting, you want to have more realism. Very important if you're painting realistic to study that which you're painting and know those things. Definitely helpful. So now that
Buffy, greetings from Letizia and Sabine from Frankfurt. Is connected now.
Hi, Leticia.
Yeah, Letty
Leticia.
is in Facebook. She
Yeah.
is already over there.
Yeah, in Zoom. Yeah, now with Sabine
she
in
here?
the train on mess.
Oh, how fun.
Okay. Hello to
And
Sabina
Sabina as well.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for tuning in today. You guys are traveling.
Hi.
Oh,
Look
wait, let me say
at
hi.
those lovely faces.
Hello.
Hello, friends.
Hello.
Hi, you guys. Aw, safe travels.
How fun.
So now that's super dark. Everything will dry a little bit lighter, but I could always do a little bit of a blend out. Take a little bit of water and encourage a little bit of a blend. When it's your painting, you can decide how realistic or unrealistic.
And this would be a mixture of the perylene green and what was the other color?
Yes, the perylene green and the undersea green.
Oh, undersea. Yes, true.
And this is where I'm hoping to get my values. Then I also have that gray mix that I talked about,
3 colors.
which is a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So I'm going to use that in some areas too to have a little bit of variation on my stems. My paper is starting to dry. So see now if I put some color, it's not completely blending out.
I love the way you're doing the negative shapes and leaving the little white border.
So there's actually 2 questions here. Sharon wants to know, what are these super cool spritzers all the watercolorists seem to have? And also Svetlana, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. She said that Buffy has a link to her materials. I'll see if I can find that. And then the other questions are both about painting over the mask. And I just wanted to reiterate, Buffy, you're not going to be removing, because you're using permanent mask, correct?
Yep, I don't have to remove it.
So she's painting over it because that's an integral part of the painting she's not removing, correct?
Yep.
Cool, thank you.
Yes, I like this one. I was mad at that. I was really mad, to be honest. I thought, oh no, I've ruined everything, but now I like it that it's blending.
With the spray?
Yeah, so the
Where's
sprayer,
the miracle?
these fine spray misters are like my guns. So these are my Oopsie Daisy sprays. They are also wonderful. Like say you had an area that you just did not like at all, you know, you can go and give a little spray and it just diffuses it. So the fine spray mister means that it's going to have a continuous spray, which is nice. And then my other one, I've actually put granulation medium in it. It's half granulation medium and half water. So if I wanted to encourage some granulation, I can also put that there.
I have similar spritzers. I just got mine on Amazon. If you look up, and now I know not everybody has access, but if you look up like misters or hair sprayers for like hairdressing, and they're like a continuous spray type of bottle. So you can push the button and it'll keep going for a minute.
And it's very, very, very soft.
Yeah, very fine.
See, I was able to just take that area that I wasn't too happy with and blend it right into the rest of it. So now, due to time, I do need to start. I just put my brush down on my keyboard And my keyboard is now painted very pretty. So now I'm going to start. One more thing, and the reason I use a little fan is because the heated dryer I've been using affects the granulation, and that's just in my opinion. So since I wanted to have some beautiful granulation on this, I find using the little fan lets it dry a lot more naturally, and it doesn't interfere with the granulation as much.
Buffy, you still have 17 minutes or 18 minutes, so you're okay. You're doing great.
Now I'm just going to put a few darker value, we'll say symbols of leaves.
Buffy, is your spray bottles, are they a certain brand or just something generic?
Generic.
Okay, I will see if I can find something
These are,
about them.
so on my Amazon, if you go to my website, watercolorpour.com, the very bottom, scroll all the way to the bottom, there'll be a little Amazon icon. And if you click that, it will take you to a page, if it's okay that I share about that.
No,
And
absolutely. I'll go find that.
the supplies I use, I have that there for convenience for people that want to take one of my classes or paint along. But
Okay,
isn't
I tried
that
to.
part of the fun of these demos is seeing what everyone else is using? So now that I have this nice, loose, flowing thing, I can start to work more from the direct color to try and build up some value. Shadows, that kind of thing. This is the manganese violet. I'll also go down in size. I'll start with the larger brushes and then I'll go down a little bit. And that is kind of a reminder to try and keep it under control. Because sometimes I just want to be very, very expressive and I don't want to do much details. Curious, do any of you ever do watercolor pouring in your practice?
That's a good question. I will use it if I do a background. I do pet portraits, so once in a while I will wet the area and then I will kind of pour I like the softness that it provides. Anybody else? Crickets?
About the watercolor pour?
About pouring. Does anybody use pouring in your work?
When
Sometimes.
we paint along with Buffy, we do.
Yes. Good
Yes.
answer.
I have a fun story how I started watercolor pouring. I took a class and it was on pouring, but with acrylics. And everybody in the class knew what they were doing, had done it before. I was brand new. And the students were silly and they would come up and say things like, "You're doing it wrong." And I was red-cheeked and embarrassed. And I tried to get through the class. And by the end of the class, I had a very wet painting that I had to drive a couple hours to get home. And I had to put it in my car. And I drove home really frustrated and I'm never going to do that again. I don't ever want to do that again. And then I thought to myself, wait a minute, but what if I used it with watercolor And so I went home and I created my website, Watercolor Pour, and I just decided I was going to find a way to incorporate it into my watercolors. I had no idea that there's nothing new under the sun, right? And that watercolor pour had been around since the 60s. And so as I began to study it, I found some wonderful other artists that do watercolor pouring. And I realized that the way I was doing it was quite different than how they were doing it. And it was just really a fun discovery. So sometimes we think we have some new and novel idea, but then we find out that we're just part of the current of art. And it's so incredibly exciting to find other artists that think like you. I think that's really, really rewarding. Other
I'm
artists.
also hearing that you've put your own spin on it, that you have made it your own and added your own unique style to it.
Yes, I struggled so much with the use of masking fluid that I worked on ways of just not using the masking fluid. For instance, just pretty much just carving around things and leaving areas white. But I also created stencils in order to be able to lift at the end areas that I wanted to preserve and I wasn't able to during the painting process. So
Buffy, we have answers to your question. So
Oh.
Lucy pours color for beaches and sand. Nadine uses it for backgrounds, and it's so magical. And Cole loves to pour outside in the summer and dance. And Diane loves doing skies pouring. And unfortunately, Tom says he's too much of a control freak, so no pouring for Tom.
So, okay, first off, I need the person that dances to come on and tell me more about that.
That was Cole.
Oh, that's awesome, Cole. I love that. I also dance a lot of times when I'm painting. I'll have my music on and I stand up and I kind of will be dancing along and painting while I'm doing it, and it's a wonderful. I encourage that. If you haven't danced while you painted, and then the control freak, fun and exciting is I've actually had quite a few people who paint realism take my class. And then what they'll do is they'll use my techniques for their backgrounds. So they'll have like a hyper realistic flower as their focal point, and then all the background will be beautiful and dappled.
I love the combination of loose and tight painting, putting both within one image.
Yes.
Buffy, when you first started your painting and you were doing the background, I looked at it and I said, wow, she's dancing on her painting.
I love that.
Somebody else thinks the same thing.
Buffy, I think this is also a good example of why you pre-mix your paints ahead of time, because you get the consistency and you don't have to spend time, mixing. So it's just right there at hand.
Yes, and now that I'm doing more and more plein air too, you just don't have all that time. So having, your colors kind of figured out ahead of time can be very helpful. I was laughing when they said that this is my dance. So unfortunately, the good Lord did not bless me with two things. He did not bless me with any musical ability at all, nor did he give me any rhythm. So I'm not a good dancer and I'm not a good singer. But yet, so yes, this is my song. This is how I sing. This is how I make my joyful noise.
Your rhythm is in your painting. It's so easy to see that.
I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So now I'm taking some of the color that's already there from the pour and I'm enhancing it. I'm going to show you guys. And this is kind of the secret to make the flowers come out. So rather than painting the flowers and keep painting and painting and painting them, my cheat is to paint around them. So I'll use negative painting and I'll just put a little bit of color on top of the color that's already there and then blend it up and out. And then this will start, this is what I call an anchor. And it'll start to bring those flowers more and more into view. Sometimes it's just as important as the flower itself is how we paint in and around it.
Time check, you have 10 minutes left.
Oh my goodness, well.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yes. Just thankful to be here with you all today and to share a little bit about the process.
That seems to be phthalo green or phthalo turquoise.
Yeah, it's the phthalo blue turquoise with a little bit of amazonite in it.
All right.
So I'm kind of alternating between the, I call it a cyan mix, and the green and the ochre, just giving a little bit more shape to the flowers by painting in and behind and around them. Also do a little bit of negative. I guess it would all be negative, right? What else do I want to share today? Let me think if I've forgotten anything. Oh, I like that. Look at that. That's that
Me
cyan.
too, yes.
So right now I'm standing up now, and because we're very short on time, I'm going to go back to my biggest brush, and I'm just going to put some final touches. Let's see. I want you guys to see those flowers come forward a little bit more before we're done with demo.
Such a nice comment from BJ. Just an extraordinary teacher. I've learned so much and will experiment with pouring, masking, splattering, and pre-mixing. Thank you all for making my world so much bigger.
Yeah, that's a beautiful comment. Thank you.
Yes, I think that these demos and colors, color swatchings on Thursday, I think we all learned so much together as a community. Real quick, I like to weave. So I have that cyan and I'm weaving it through. So I feel like I need an area down here.
While you're painting, I'm going to read some comments on Facebook.
Wonderful.
Can you hear okay? Tom Reif, who previously commented about being so tight and controlling, is now saying, Buffy, you have inspired me to loosen up with my paintings. I have a subject in mind that I've not been able to visualize how to execute it. Thanks. And then Susan Little in Texas says, I always love when I can see this live. It's good to see you all. Love the paintings, Buffy Kaufman.
Thank you. That's exciting. That is all really exciting. So from this point, I would prefer to let this, dry 100%. And then, I kind of go with the 90-10 rule. So 90% loose and expressive. And then I'll kind of shift gears. And once it's dry, that I'll do that final 10% of just the littlest amount of detail needed to say what the subject is. But I wanted to share something a little bit different really quick in our final minutes on something that's helping me with my with my art. And that is learning to play chess. I feel like it's the other part of the brain. And when you study chess, it has a lot to do with your opening, how you're going to start. And then you have your middle game where you're developing your pieces on the board. And then you have your end game where you're, everyone's swapping, and sometimes you're down to the wire on time as well. And so when you're thinking about how that compares to your painting, having that opening, thinking about what your colors will be, your composition, and just how you're going to approach it a lot of people will do little test paintings or value studies, and they do that prep work ahead of time. So for the control freaks or very realistic people, that can be that part of it. And then your middle would be, just kind of laying in the color, and your end game will just be those final little details. I like to say there's depth in the details. So a lot of times as we're putting in our details, that's where we will end up overworking our paintings. So anyways, I just thought every time I study chess, it also teaches me the importance of studying, because you definitely have to go back to the drawing board with chess and keep studying and keep learning. And so in art as well, I think that we should be doing that, because when we stop learning and stop growing, then you can get very stagnant. You can lose your energy towards painting, and we don't ever want to do that, do we?
Buffy, will you be sharing this on your socials afterwards?
Only if it turns out nice. Just
Oh,
kidding.
come on now.
Yes, I will share.
It is already nice, so.
You're such a tease.
I will
Lucy
share.
is commenting, great to know, Buffy, using our minds in a logical way combined with our creativity. Love it.
Yes, yes. Very much so. I think that's helping me, because I will plan, I'll spend a little bit more time on my plan, and then that way I can enjoy the execution much more.
Oh, I love that. I feel the same way.
Absolutely marvelous.
Wonderful book, Buffy.
Hello?
That is Stella talking.
Hola! Guess what, you
Hi.
guys?
Hey, Stella.
Guess
See you
what?
soon, Buffy.
Yes, guess what I get to do next week? I get to go paint with the amazing Stella Canfield.
Oh, wow.
I'm so excited.
Me too.
It's gonna be wonderful.
One last question, Buffy. Do you ever look at your beginner paintings?
Oh, yes. Yes. Like from when I very first started painting?
I think that's the question. Yeah. Do you ever just look back?
Yes, I do. I actually had thought about doing, for today's demo, I was going to do rocks, and I was going to show you this painting I found a long time ago, and then like do it again. So maybe next time I come on, I can share that.
That would be lovely.
And flip this around. I think we're right at time, aren't we?
Well, you've got 2 minutes, but I mean, oh, wow. That is amazing.
Wow.
So here it is.
Beautiful.
Let me take a screenshot. That is so
Okay.
beautiful.
It's pouring away.
Uh-huh.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Fantastic.
As beautiful as you, Buffy.
Yeah.
Yes, it has a ways to go. You can see I need to clean it up quite a bit, but you can see what I wanted to share was just how expressive the pouring can be. And then I'll tighten up my flowers, and then I will share that online for you guys.
That will be lovely. Thank you so much. Well,
When you do the analysis, when you do the analysis at the end of the painting, do you do it immediately or do you give yourself time? And what do you look at when you're analyzing your own work?
So that's wonderful, wonderful. So right now, it's almost like the two sides of the brain, right? So the expressive and motive is what I just shared here. But then I kind of got to switch gears and go more analytical to decide what is missing, what doesn't make sense. So really what I'll look at is, first off, I'll look for things that just don't make sense, or things that don't flow, and I'll start to try and tie it together. But I do try and do it as minimal as possible so I don't lose that expressive, loose watercolor. So I think the number one things I like to think about is color harmony. Are the colors flowing? Is there anything that is too much of a discord and it's too distracting? Value. is, do I have a full range of value? Or it just depends on your value plan, because there are high key paintings that don't have a lot of value. And then third is just, I'll usually do a little stencil lifting or a little bit of like final touch magic to just give it something beautiful for the person that takes a moment to come and explore the painting. So one of the things you guys can do to study your own art is, we look at it like this, right? And man, we could be so hypercritical and so mean to ourselves, can't we? Because we're like this for hours with our painting. So set it somewhere far away and see if you can still see it or not. And if you can't make out what it is, you probably need to increase your values. Have your contrasts, increase them some. Make sure there's a focal point. Because at the end of the day, the only people that are looking at our art like this are us. Everyone else is looking at it from afar. And so setting it up somewhere in your house for a day and looking at it the next morning with fresh eyes is also really, really good. Because one more thing, I heard of one poor artist, she'll do her pour and she puts her paintings upside down. And then the next morning she'll flip them over and take another look at it. So I hope that answered the question.
You are so right, Buffy. Thank you. Because so many, your demo is so full of tips and so full of insights. And I think everyone has learned so much and we've enjoyed it tremendously. So I thank you so much. We all thank you. And well, we have enjoyed today, and everyone is thanking you. So, and we'll see you next week. See you on next Thursday.
Thank you, Buffy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Buffy.
Thank you,
Thank
Buffy.
you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Buffy.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Buffy.
Wonderful
Bye-bye.
weekend, everyone. Aloha. Thank you, Hawaii.